Hello beautiful beings. So I made a video yesterday, but there was something that I wanted to talk about today that I think is quite important at the moment is in terms of the spiritual community. We're very loving people, very giving, very open-hearted, very sensitive, very kind and compassionate. Sometimes we give all of ourselves, and we want to see those we love step into their full potential. We see who they are as a soul, we see underneath their problems, and we see their potential. We want them to flourish, we want them to step into their power. And sometimes we see who they are in the future rather than who they are now, which causes us to put the blinkers up sometimes, to not see what's right in front of us. And what I want to get across to you is that being a deeply loving, empathetic, compassionate being is not just about giving all of your energy, all of your support. Sometimes, however hard it is, however counterintuitive it is, sometimes the most loving course of action is putting up boundaries and taking a step back and leading people back to their own power. Sometimes being a mirror that shows people what they're really doing when they're in denial. Being able to really show people the damaging effect of their behaviour and what it's doing to people around them. So what I feel is that we want to rescue people, and we want to deeply see people change, but what my message is that to instigate that change, we have to lead people back to themselves. We have to take a step back and remind people that they are responsible for their behaviour. They are responsible for how they live their lives. It's not our job to change people. It's our job to work on ourselves, to be full of love, to give that love unconditionally. But it's not our job just to put up with anything because we think that if we're loving enough, if we're giving enough, then that's enough to change someone else, because it's not our job to change them, it's their job. It's their job to make that choice. We can't do it for them. So at the moment I feel like we're suddenly being given a big shake-up, and those things that we saw from one perspective, suddenly we're seeing it from a very clarified perspective, where from an even-headed, non-codependent state of mind we can say, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I doing this? And sometimes you need to almost write it to yourself or say it to yourself, like, this is the situation I'm in, and then you think, if someone else was in that situation, what would your advice be to them? Sometimes you realise, oh, actually this is like, I've become so emotionally involved that I haven't been able to see the wood for the trees. So it's an important lesson to learn at the moment, is that we're so loving, we're so giving, but we don't allow every single homeless person, every drug addict, every person who's going through domestic violence, going through a hard time. We can't solve all of their problems. We can't let all of those people live with us. We can't become emotionally involved with every single person. We don't have the resources, the emotional resources. We don't have the time to do that for every being in the world. We can lovingly give as much as we feel that we can do, and who we feel guided to help. Sometimes there's someone that you really deeply feel like, I'm supposed to help this specific person. Sometimes just a smile to someone, an act of kindness, can make a huge difference to them. Sometimes we can help charities that help in a wider level, help more people. But we need to think about ourselves first and have enough love to give. I feel as well that some of us that work in the healthcare professionals, we get very much into this state of responsibility and almost guilt of if I'm not helping all the time, that somehow I'm not good enough, somehow I don't deserve to be here, I'm not loving enough. I've really felt this recently, this feeling of it's indulgent and feeling guilty for wanting to follow your dreams and your passions. And I think it's incredibly important that we help in the world, that we do what we can to support each other, but when we're almost doing it out of a sense of responsibility, we're taking the world on our shoulders all the time, and we never feel like we've done enough, we never feel like we're good enough. And it's almost this complex that we develop, this like being this angelic force, like if only we can do more then the world will change, then we will heal everyone, that it's a lot of responsibility we're putting on ourselves. So just put that aside for a minute, and sometimes by giving love to yourself, by following your passions, you're able to be more of service because you're more in your soul's intention, and you're giving to yourself enough to give to others, and you're able to be of service through inspired action, rather than just feeling like if I just give, then it's enough. Whereas actually sometimes fostering that divine inspiration to create a new movement in the long run, in the long term, could create more solid foundations, could create more of a sustainable change in this world, rather than feeling like if I just give now in this system, then I'm being of service, but actually nothing's changing in the long term. So sometimes you need to see the bigger picture and take each step at a time. Be willing to give to yourself, to teach yourself, so that when you step out into the world, you're able to give more deeply and more open-heartedly, and as I said, with boundaries, with responsibility, and with clarity. So that's my message today: is not to judge people, not to be selfish, not to be self-indulgent, but to not feel guilty about taking time for yourself and knowing deeply your value, knowing your self-worth, because we need people like you in the world who deeply care. And if you're burned out, then you're no help to anyone, because you're exhausted yourself and you're not able to give fully. So what is most helpful to the world is you taking your personal journey, is you feeling fulfilled, is you feeling inspired. So lots of love to you, beautiful people, and keep being the beautiful, giving light workers that you are. The world needs you.